And we are live for Thursday night football. How's it going, everyone? We got a fun one tonight. Tennessee Titans. Will Levis coming off one of the best rookie debuts of all time, playing in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers, 3-point favorites at home in this game. I'm excited for this one. Definitely some very difficult fantasy football start-sit decisions to talk through tonight. Excited to dive into it. We got a question here off the bat from Alan here in the YouTube live, and appreciate you, Alan. 3 years, man. Time is flying. Can't believe that, but appreciate you being in early to this YouTube live. You got to go with the Steelers defense tonight. I think they are one of the best defenses of the week this week. This game has the lowest over-under of the entire week, 37.5. I think this over-under is set up. I'm pulling it up right now. Steelers 3-point favorites, 37-point over-under. That's lower than the Browns and Cardinals game. That's lower than the Packers and Rams game that might not have Matthew Stafford. It's the same as the Giants and Raiders game. I mean, this game is projected to be extremely, extremely low scoring, and you can understand why. This is a good segue into one of the Thursday Night Football stats, I have to share tonight. And the Titans games have all been extremely low scoring. And part of the reason is these games don't have a lot of plays. The Titans are a run-first team. The Steelers are a run-first team. But the Titans have had the least total combined plays per game. Dead last in the NFL, only 120 plays per game for the Titans in all their games this season. Definitely expect a low-scoring game tonight. Over-under is only 37 points. So, yeah, I do like the Steelers defense for that reason. I think that the Titans defense is okay. I like the Steelers defense a bit more than the Titans defense. But yeah, both are definitely startable tonight. Spears or Madison, great job. You're the best, bro. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, I really don't want much to do with Alexander Madison this week. I think Spears is a fringe start tonight. He's definitely not a guy you're going to lock in with 100% confidence, but neither is Alexander Madison. Cam Akers' role is starting to increase. Let me pull up the game logs here for Alexander Madison on the YouTube live. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, by the way. Shout out to everybody in here. Hit the like button, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate that. Alexander Madison, if we pull this up, it's going to look pretty concerning here. He did play 60% of the snaps last week. He did see 16 carries, 1.9 yards per carry against the Green Bay Packers, who have been bottom 12 against running backs this season. Only under 2 yards a carry. I mean, that's definitely very concerning for him. He only had one target, one catch, 2 yards, finished with a week, 4.3 points. That was his worst fantasy game of the season. He had 16 carries against a bottom 12 Packers run defense, and he finished with 4.3 points. I'm going with Deontay Spears, man, over Madison. Let's do this comparison because I'm interested to see what Walter says about this one. But Deontay Spears definitely has more juice than Madison. Yeah, I'm going with Spears. Walter's going with Spears. Neither of them have a huge chance to go over 25 points. Spears really is going to need an injury to Henry in this game for that to happen. But yeah, Spears is the better option for sure. I agree with this. I also won't be surprised. Derrick Henry did deal with an ankle injury throughout practice this week. Wouldn't be shocking to see Spears get a little bit more usage than usual. All right. I have Devonta and Terry, but Pickens on my bench. Who should I start? Who should I sit for Pickens? Devonta and Terry, but Pickens on my bench. Yeah, I would bench Pickens, and I would start Terry and Devonta. Let me make sure I turn off the sub-only chat for now. We'll turn that back on later on the TikTok live. We're going to get to as many comments as we possibly can on these live streams, as always. What's going on, Kylo? Actually going to be at the game tonight. Tighten up. What tonight's player prop? Kyle, let's go, man. That's hype. I am taking the Titans, by the way, +3 in this game. I know you're a Titans fan. This game's in Pittsburgh, so be safe out there, Kylo. I do have a player prop for us, and it's probably one you're going to like. It's Allen Robinson, under 14.5 receiving yards. Allen Robinson has 2 targets over the last 2 games. Deontay Johnson is back now. I'll pull up the prop evaluator here on the TikTok live. This is right from the Walter Picks app. I'll pull it up here on the YouTube live also so we can all take a peek at it. I'll just pull up Allen Robinson's game logs here actually a little bit quicker. And yeah, Allen Robinson has 2 targets in his last 2 games, under a 5% target share each of his last 2 games for A-Rob. They're setting this line at 14.5. The last time he had over this was week 5 against the Ravens. With Deontay back, I think there's a better chance that Allen Robinson has 0 yards than that he has over 15 yards. He is playing a decent amount still. He still was out there 68% of the snaps last week, but he's running wind sprints with Deontay Johnson and George Pickens going to get the lion's share of the targets. Plus, the Steelers want to be a run-first team. They play extremely, extremely slow. So, yeah, I'm taking the Allen Robinson under here. We're 14-4 now, guys. We cashed both the Jake Ferguson props on Sunday. It's tough to get better than 14-4 on the free player props on these lives. Enjoy the game, Kylo. That's the free player prop of the day. It is Allen Robinson, under 14.5 receiving yards. Pickens or Myers? Yeah, that's definitely a close one. I would probably lean Jacoby Myers over George Pickens if I had to make that choice. Will Levis, guys, is definitely the story of tonight. You're going to hear a lot about him on the broadcast, and I'm pumped to watch him on primetime tonight. I am worried that we're getting a little too far ahead of ourselves with Will Levis. I'm certainly rooting for him. I want him to be the starter the rest of the season. He's going to need to do well tonight, I think, to earn the starting role for the rest of the season. And even still, wouldn't it be that shocking to see the Titans turn back to Ryan Tannehill once he's fully healthy? But yeah, Will Levis balled out. Last week, guys, 4 touchdowns. We've, I think, seen 6 players ever have 4 touchdowns in their rookie debuts, and he's one of them. So definitely very excited to see how he does tonight against the Steelers. Steelers defense has not been that great, but they definitely should do well tonight against a pretty injured Titans offensive line. They're getting their star defensive tackle back as well. So we'll see how Will Levis holds up, but I wouldn't expect a super pass-heavy game script here for the Titans. I think Derrick Henry will get a lot of work in the run game. 3 years on Walter Picks. Let's go, man. Yeah, the best way you guys can possibly support me, check out the Walter Picks app in the iOS and Android app store. It's in the TikTok bio. It's in the YouTube description. If you're watching live on YouTube, it's the best app for fantasy and betting advice that you can find. And I've spent the last 3 years of my life building it. So it's the best way you can support me. It's free to download. So check it out. All right. Last week made me nervous. You've Cup and Puka. Yeah. Should I trade Puka for Devontae Adams, or hold my Rams stack? I'm okay trading Puka for Devontae Adams. I think that's a pretty fair trade. And I do think Devontae Adams still has a lot of upside. Start the Patriots, Vikings, or Titans defense. Yes, you got the Patriots versus the Commanders. You got the Vikings defense. I think that game had a really low over-under. We were just looking at 2. Yeah, the Vikings playing the Falcons, Taylor Heineke. So this game has a 37-point over-under. That's the lowest of the week, tied with the Vikings and Falcons game. I think I would probably go Titans defense over both those defenses, though. Pats defense isn't terrible, but the Commanders passing offense has actually been okay. I would probably go Titans defense over both of those. Should I start T. Higgins or Pittman? Yeah, I really do want to start T. Higgins this week. That game is going to be extremely, extremely high scoring. Sold Devontae for Bijan. What do you think? Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think that it's much harder to find running backs like Bijan. Own Dallas and Jets, but should I get Vikings, Chargers, Raiders? Thanks. No, I think I would probably go with the Jets defense there. Higgins or Lockett this week? Yeah, it's Higgins. You're not benching T. Higgins this week against the Bills. That game is going to be a game you want a piece of. What's up, Sam? Keep grinding, bro. Thanks, man. I'm worried about Stafford. The Titans' rough pass defense and Deontay being a target hog. Should I start him over Puka? Yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't love it. I definitely don't love benching Puka, but the reason I'm okay benching Puka on this Thursday night for Deontay Johnson, I think Deontay Johnson, first of all, has an extremely high floor. He seems to be back to full health. His over-under is right around 60 yards tonight, 5.5 receptions. He has been top 5, I think it was top 6, actually, in the NFL in targets each of the last 3 years, not including this year. Heading into the season, he had ranked top 6 in targets each of the last 3 years, and we're starting to see him earn those targets again. And the reason I'm okay benching Puka for Deontay tonight specifically is Puka Nacua has not been a full participant in practice yet this whole week. I don't think he's going to miss the game. He's been limited in practice, so it's not like he's not practicing at all. But I think with the recent performances from Puka, it's okay to start Deontay over him in PPR leagues, especially. Who do I start my flex, King Henry or George Pickens? Yeah, I would probably lean Derrick Henry over George Pickens. I think that he's the safer option tonight. To me, I think his ceiling is similar too. George Pickens has a kind of a low floor. Hey, Sam, Thursday Night Football question. Bench 2 wide receivers, full PPR. Nico Collins, Jacoby Myers, Marquise Brown, Rashee Rice, and Deontay Johnson. Yeah, so I'm not benching Deontay Johnson, and I really don't want to bench Nico Collins this week either. I think Marquise Brown is a fine guy to bench. It sounds like Clayton Tune is going to be starting for the Cardinals this week. I don't really love that for Marquise Brown. And they're playing the Browns too. So, yeah, I would bench Marquise Brown. And then Rashee Rice's guy I do want to start. I think it's between him, Jacoby, and Nico here. I'd probably bench Jacoby Myers. I think I'd go Nico over Jacoby. I think I'd go Rashee Rice over Jacoby too. I think that's how I do it. But I definitely would start Deontay tonight. Hey, Sam, how's this going? It's going great, man. Mostert or Deontay Johnson. This one's pretty close. If this is a PPR league, it's even tougher, I would say, to make this call. I think you got to go Mostert, though. It's hard to bench Mostert in this game against the Chiefs. His usage was a little concerning last week, but he's starting to get healthier and healthier off that ankle. What's up, Sam? Pick one flex. PPR, Deontay, Addison, Ford. Yeah, I'm going Deontay over Addison and Ford with the quarterback situation for Minnesota and the running back situation for the Browns. I mean, there's a three-way committee going on for the Browns right now. Ford's getting healthier. Maybe we see it turn back to a two-way committee between him and Kareem Hunt. But I feel like Pierre Strong's earned a little bit of a role in that backfield too. I feel much better about Deontay Johnson here in a PPR league. Stroud or Levis? Yeah, you got to go Stroud. You got to go Stroud over Levis. Deontay over Derrick Henry. Why? Yeah, that one's close. I don't think that's a definite Deontay over Derrick Henry. In a PPR league, though, I probably would go with Deontay Johnson over Derrick Henry. Deontay Johnson's coming off his best game of the season by far. Let me pull the game logs here for Deontay Johnson. He's really only played in two full games. And last game was, I would argue, his healthiest game of the season. Now, week 1, he gets hurt. He only played 42% of the snaps. Week 7 is his first game back from the injury. He played 72% of the snaps. Last week, he, for the first game all season, ran 100% of the routes for the Steelers. And he did what we're used to him doing. 14 targets, 35% target share for Deontay. He had a ton of air yards, too. Was not just short dump-off passes. 8 catches, 85 yards. No touchdowns, but still gets 16.5 PPR points. This is why he has such a high floor. Right? He's been over 12.5 points now in both of his full healthy games. And I would even argue one of those full healthy games was really like a 75% health game for Deontay. The Titans secondary is definitely the weakness of this team. The Titans are a pass funnel defense. They're one of these defenses like the Eagles, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where their run defense is good and their second defense is not that good. Their secondary defense, is not that good. So it forces teams to pass more against them. And that's only good news for Deontay Johnson for sure in this one. So yeah, I'm definitely starting Deontay in PPR over Derrick Henry. He's coming off a 14 target game, guys. This is what Deontay Johnson's done each of the last 3 years. And I think we can expect him to do it again tonight. Start QB Levis over Howell. I don't think I would do that. I think I would start Sam Howell over Levis without how Sam Howell's been playing. I really don't feel great about starting Will Levis in fantasy tonight. I think if you're in a Superflex 2 QB league, then we can talk. But this game has a 37-point over-under. The Titans are going to be run heavy in this game. I don't love the play in general. I would have told you to bench Will Levis last week too, for whatever that's worth. But yeah, I don't love it overall still. I still want to see a little bit larger of a sample size of Will Levis till we're confidently starting him every week. And yeah, Sam Howell's coming off a great game against the Eagles. Will be a little bit of a tougher matchup, I think, against the Pat secondary, but still a decent spot. Naji or Darrell Henderson, PPR. Yeah, this one's a tough call. I think I would lean Naji, though, over Darrell Henderson. So I would lean Darrell Henderson over Naji Harris. I want nothing to do with Naji on a week-to-week basis. I think I've had him in my must-bench category in almost every single week. And yeah, Walter agrees with me here on the YouTube Live. We're looking at this comparison. It's D Hendo over Naji. It's actually pretty close in PPR. Henderson's seeing good enough usage, though, so far that I do think this makes sense. Naji Harris is incapable of making big plays. He is coming off actually one of his lowest rushing yards games of the season. I'll pull up his game logs here in a second. But yeah, Naji Harris, I think he's made one play over like 15 yards this entire season. He got involved in the pass game last week a little bit more, and actually each of the last 2 weeks. But I still feel better about Darrell Henderson, who's also getting involved in the pass game. He had 3 catches, 54 yards. Last week, he also had another 12 carries. He's got 30 carries in his last 2 games now, and he's got a better matchup against the Packers than Naji has tonight against the Titans. I think the Titans are one of the better front sevens in the NFL. I would put them in the top 12 run defenses, and their secondary is definitely much worse than the run defense. Only 7 carries, 13 yards for Naji Harris. I mean, look at how brutal he's been on the ground. He's been under 4 yards a carry each of his last 3 games now. He's been under 4 yards a carry in 4 of his last 5. He's only been over 5 yards a carry in 2 games. He had 1.9 yards per carry last week against the Jaguars. Good for him, though. He did have 5 targets. That was the most targets he's had all season. So that's one reason for hope in this game tonight. But yeah, Jaylen Warren's outscored him PPR wise, I think almost every single game, if not every single game this season. I would probably start Jaylen Warren over Naji Harris if I had to choose between the two tonight. Hey, Sam, should I start Deontay Johnson or London this week? Yeah, do not trust Drake London. If you got to make that start-sit call, it's got to be Deontay Johnson over Drake London with ease. I think I might even say at full health, London over being benched for Deontay might make sense, with Deontay coming off a 14-target game. The first game Deontay Johnson ran 100% of the routes in a game this season was last week. This is the first time Deontay's back at full steam. I would play Tyjae Spears over Jaylen Warren. Is Taysom Hill a start on Sunday? He's startable. He had 25% of the carries for the Saints last week. Did not see that one coming, and I don't think you can bank on that every week. But with the tight end landscape and 4 buys this week, yeah, Taysom is startable in some spots for sure this week. It's me again. Deontay, Devontae, Pollard, Garrett Wilson. Yeah, this one you gotta bench Deontay. I'm playing Garrett Wilson over Deontay Johnson. I'm playing Devontae Smith over him too. And I would start Tony Pollard, I think, over Deontay as well. That one's actually pretty close. Let's actually see what Walter says about that one. Pollard gets the Eagles this week, which is not a good matchup for running backs. They have the best defensive line in the league. I would argue, at least you could probably agree with me that they're a top 5 defensive line in the league. We're going to look at Pollard versus Deontay here. I still think Pollard's usage is probably good enough to start him over Deontay. Yeah, look, it's pretty close here. And yeah, Pollard definitely just has a higher touchdown ceiling than Deontay. And there should be a lot of points scored in this Cowboys-Eagles game. And that's good for Tony Pollard, Tony Pollard doesn't have a touchdown since week 1. I mean, absolutely ridiculous stuff here from Pollard. I'd go Pollard over Deontay. Definitely a relatively difficult call, but in PPR especially. I am playing Deontay over Jacoby Myers. I would play Deontay over Hollywood Brown. I'm playing him over Drake London for sure. I play over Michael Pittman as well. Deontay versus Nico Collins is a close one. I do like both those guys. I would play Deontay over Nico, but I would play T. Higgins over Deontay, seeing that one too in the TikTok Live. Deontay or Aaron Jones or Zay Flowers. I don't know how we can trust Aaron Jones at this point. Kylo, enjoy the game. Thanks for tuning in, man. I don't know how we can trust Aaron Jones at all, at this point, until we see him get, a more reasonable workload. So I definitely would start Deontay Johnson over Aaron Jones. Zay Flowers versus Deontay Johnson. That one's pretty close. I think I would probably lean Deontay over Zay just slightly. 14 targets is not something we've seen Zay do this season. We did see Deontay do that last week. I think that Zay gets the Seahawks this week, though. Walter likes Zay more. Wow, really similar defenses actually that they're playing against here in terms of points allowed per game. Deontay has been better on a per game basis. Yeah, I personally would go Deontay over Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has been pretty consistent in the target share category. He's had at least a 20% target share in all but one game this season, but he's only scored 1 touchdown. I would go Deontay Johnson personally over Zay Flowers. Definitely a close one, though. Pickens or Demario Douglas? Yeah, you got to go Pickens, I think, over Demario Douglas, as much as I like Demario Douglas this week. I'm not playing Deontay over Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave absolutely needs to be started for sure. Najee, Tank Dell, Chuba Hubbard, or JSN? Yeah, I think this one's Tank Dell. I do. Robert Woods is going to be out again this week. I'm definitely playing Tank Dell and Chuba Hubbard over Naji Harris. JSN versus Naji Harris is pretty close. Tyler Lockett's dealing with injuries again in practice this week. It seems like he's going to be able to suit up, though, and that's not great news for JSN. I think I would rank these guys Tank Dell, then Chuba Hubbard, then JSN, then Naji, or Tank Dell, Chuba Hubbard, then Naji, then JSN. That's the order I would go. And Sam, I'll see you later. Have a great stream. Enjoy the game. You as well, Kylo. Go Titans for you. Hey, Walter. JK, I know your name is Sam. I want to bench Naji, but all I have instead is Brian Robinson. Thoughts, PPR. Yeah, I get where you're coming from here, and I think I probably would play. I think I would play Naji over Brian Robinson. Let's see what Walter says about this one in the Walter Picks app. Yeah, Walter agrees with me here. B-Rob against the Pats is definitely not a great option. He's coming off his lowest snap percentage in his last 3 games, only 10 carries. He was efficient on those carries at least. I'm okay going Naji over Brian Robinson. Definitely a relatively close one. Similar options here. But yeah, there's not very much ceiling with B-Rob at this point. Hopkins or Deontay PPR? Yeah, I'm going Deontay Johnson over DeAndre Hopkins. And Hopkins coming off a massive, massive game. And I told a lot of people on Sunday, I took a pretty big L telling people to bench DeAndre Hopkins last week. And I'm going to take some big L's from time to time. That comes with the territory of giving people fantasy football advice. I totally understand that. I think that Deontay Johnson's floor is much higher than DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins was questionable for this game on a short week. His ceiling is much, much higher, though. And I actually really agree with this analysis here from Walter. If you're going for the ceiling, we saw it last week. It's DeAndre Hopkins here. But if you're going with the floor, it's pretty clearly Deontay Johnson, who had 14 targets last week. DeAndre Hopkins only had, 6 targets, 4 catches. So, yeah, I just prefer the guy getting 14 targets, 8 catches. That was Deontay Johnson last week. So that's me. I'm going Deontay over Hopkins. If you're shooting for the ceiling on Thursday night, we saw it last week. You can go with Hopkins. Definitely has a much higher touchdown ceiling than Deontay Johnson. But I think Johnson's floor, just in terms of receptions and yards, much higher than Hopkins is. And the prop lines agree with that too. All right, Sam, Levis, Geno, Baker, or Howell this week. Yeah, so I think you really can't start Levis here. Geno, Baker, Howell, I think is probably the move. Let's pull up the Walter Picks QB rankings this week. I'm actually interested to see where Levis ranks. Sam Howell ranks as QB 9. He's been really, really good. He's definitely the guy that stood out to me when you asked this question as the guy I would start over Baker Mayfield, over Geno Smith, and yes, over Will Levis tonight. Then we got Baker Mayfield at QB 14. Wow, Will Levis is down at QB 24, and at Geno, I must have scrolled past Geno. He's at QB 13. He's ahead of Baker. Yeah, I think Levis over Baker is fine, but I would not play Will Levis over Geno Smith, and I would not play him over Sam Howell either. Raiders defense or Steelers defense in Spears or Watson. Yeah, so I think I'd probably go with the Steelers defense tonight over the Raiders defense. I think the Steelers defense is in a really good spot. This game is a really low over-under. D-Hop or T, you got to go T. Higgins over DeAndre Hopkins. You got to go Stroud over Will Levis. I'm playing Deontay Johnson over Zay Flowers, seeing that one in the TikTok live as well. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Hit the like button and the subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. Very, very exciting game tonight where we've got the Tennessee Titans who are averaging the least plays total per game on both sides of the ball in their games. Dead last in the NFL in total combined plays per game for Titans this season. The Steelers, meanwhile, they've punted on almost half of their possessions. The Steelers have punted on the most possessions in the NFL, percentage-wise. Dead last for the Steelers in terms of punting. They have been abysmal. That's part of the reason the free player prop of the day, it's Allen Robinson, under 14.5 receiving yards. Allen Robinson has 2 targets in his last 2 games. I think there's a better chance that Allen Robinson has 0 yards tonight than that he has over 15 receiving yards tonight. That's the exact type of unders I want to be targeting. So that's the free player prop in the day. Guys, we are 14-4 on the free player props on this live stream. That is absolutely ridiculous percentage. That's over 70% of the free player props. I think it's 80% of these free player props. 14 out of 18. Someone do that math for me. I can do it really quickly. Yeah, 78% of the free player props are hitting. I think if this one hits, we'll be right around 80%. And that's the free player prop of the night. It is Allen Robinson, under 14.5. I do like the Titans +3 tonight. I think this should be just closer to an even spread. I think the Steelers defense is the play over the Titans defense in fantasy, but I think the Titans absolutely can win this game if Will Levis can stay hot. All right, let's get to some more of these start-sit questions. Levis or the Raiders QB, Aiden O'Connell. Yeah, so the Raiders, they get a pretty good matchup this week. Let me pull this up here. And I'm looking at the spreads right now. And yeah, they get the Giants. They're 1.5-point favorites against the Giants. Levis gets the Steelers. Let's do this comparison. I think Walter has Aiden O'Connell ahead of Will Levis. I'm not sure if I agree with that though. I want to compare the matchups here for these two guys on the YouTube live. Bless you. Thank you. We got Aiden O'Connell against the Giants. Yeah, the Steelers have actually allowed more points per game to quarterbacks than the Giants have. I think I'd go Levis over Aiden O'Connell personally. It's definitely a close call. 2 rookie QBs. Both pretty wide range of outcomes. Will Levis definitely is a boom bust option tonight, but I would say Aiden O'Connell's even boomier and bustier. Is it worth to trade Jefferson and Waddle for AJ Brown? I'm 1-7, by the way. Oh man, I think you need to trade Justin Jefferson. If you are 1-7, you have to trade him. You should have traded him a couple weeks ago if you only had 1 win. I don't really love the trade you're making here, though. It's definitely an upgrade for sure to your starting lineup until Jefferson comes back, but I don't think you should be trying to move Jalen Waddle right now. I think you're selling pretty low on Jalen Waddle if you're doing that. And I like Jalen Waddle a lot this week. Deontay Johnson or Devontae Smith? Yeah, I'm going Devontae Smith over Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay's probably got a safer floor. He's coming off a 14-target game, guys. Deontay Johnson, not many guys in the league can get 14 targets. Deontay Johnson is one of those guys that gives him an extremely, extremely safe floor. That's why I'm playing him over guys like Zay Flowers, guys like Drake London, guys like Nico Collins. This week, I'm playing him over George Pickens for sure. I'm playing him over Michael Pittman too, seeing that comment in the TikTok live. I'm playing Deontay over a lot of people, but not over Devontae Smith in a game against the Cowboys that could be extremely high scoring. Yeah, I do have thoughts on Tony Pollard, who has not scored a touchdown, guys, since week 1 for Tony Pollard. He is one of the highest expected touchdowns in the league. He has just 2 touchdowns this season. He has the second most red zone touches in the entire league. Second in red zone touches, hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1. Something's got to give here with Tony Pollard. And yeah, it's been a disappointing season for sure. He's entering bust territory. He has been a bust so far this fantasy season. I definitely think he can turn it around, though. I think he's a very interesting buy low candidate still. Let me pull up the Tony Pollard game logs here and just take a peek at his playoff schedule. He still ranks as number 10. Look at this. He's got two really good matchups in the fantasy playoffs. He gets the Bills in week 15, the Dolphins in week 16. He definitely, sorry, you can't see it because the comment's hiding it on the YouTube live, but definitely think Tony Pollard can win leagues down the stretch. Still very interesting buy low candidate, but yeah, it's going to be not many teams that had Tony Pollard that makes the playoffs if he continues at this pace. Najee or Chuba Hubbard? I'm going Chuba Hubbard over Naji Harris. Definitely it's a close one, but yeah, I want nothing to do with Naji Harris. He's just incapable of making big plays, and that's not the type of guy I want. I also think the Titans are a pass funnel defense. I don't think the Steelers, I don't have that much faith in the Steelers leaning into that enough in this game. The Steelers are going to want to run the ball, and it's not going to go well for them, but that's not good for Naji Harris, who averaged 1.9 yards per carry last week. Like, don't put yourself through another game of rooting for Naji Harris as he suffers 1.9 yards per carry on his 10 carries because the Steelers can't sustain drives. The Steelers, again, I said this earlier in the live, the Steelers have punted on a league high 49.4% of their possessions. And a lot of those possessions, you can thank Naji Harris for that. All right. Foreman or Spears. Yeah, I think I would lean Spears over Foreman. Chig over under 24 receiving yards. I definitely like the over there for Chig. That's a pretty low over under for a guy that I think is like a fringe tight end start in fantasy, depending on the tight end options you have. He's quietly, Chig Okonkwo quietly. Walter has him ranked as tight end 19, which I think is a little bit too low. Quietly, he's had over a 20% target share now in each of his last 3 games. At least a 20% target share, 22% last week. In his first game with Will Levis, turned that into 4 catches, 23 yards. He doesn't have a game this season, though, with more than 35 yards. So that's a bit disappointing. But yeah, I think I would take the over here. Sam, reference Walter, but would love your opinion. Warren or Madison in PPR? Yeah, Matt, I do not want to start Alexander Madison right now. I don't really love the spot for Jaylen Warren tonight, but yeah, I would be playing Jaylen Warren over Alexander Madison. Please, you had mine up. I got you. My team is Herbert, Cup, Chase, Bijan, Taylor, Hawk. Should I start Garrett or Rachaad White at flex? Yeah, definitely you're starting Garrett Wilson. There's no bench on Garrett Wilson right now. He's had over a 31% target share in every single game this season except for one. Absolutely insane usage for Garrett Wilson. Now he gets the Chargers, who are bottom 10 against receivers. I think they're allowing the most receiving yards per game in the NFL to receivers right now. So you're certainly starting Garrett Wilson. I do like Rachaad White this week, his floor at least, but the ceiling for Garrett Wilson is just so much higher. Is one of those two. And Thomas Sutton Dobbs, what trade should I make? Yeah, so it's hard for me to know who you should trade for in general. I posted a video a couple weeks ago, though, of 19 guys I think that makes sense to trade for. Devontae Smith is definitely one of my favorites to go and trade for right now. But I would say this, if you are likely to make the fantasy football playoffs, then what you should do is go into the Walter Picks app, pull up the game logs for different players, and look at who has the best fantasy playoff schedules for your league's playoffs. Usually it's weeks 15, 16, 17 in most leagues, and trade for those players. Optimize for the best possible matchups in the fantasy playoffs if you're likely to make it. If you're not likely to make it, then you need to be trading away some future assets, guys that have good playoff schedules, and communicate this to the guys in your league that are likely to make the playoffs to get players with better playoff schedules before the playoffs so you can make the playoffs. All that matters is the fantasy playoffs, assuming you make it that far. So you got to optimize for that when you're doing trades. Sam, you got to help me here. Also, use the Walter Picks trade analyzer. It will help you make fair trades. You got to help me here. Should I trade Pacheco and Ridley for Mixon and Deontay? I'm scared of shipping Pacheco. I'm 2-7. I kind of like this trade, honestly. I think I would take Mixon over Pacheco rest of season right now, and I don't think Deontay over Ridley is that hot of a take either, especially with Deontay coming off a 14-target game. We haven't seen Ridley get 14 targets in a game this season. You just don't see many receivers in the NFL command 14 targets in a game, and we've seen Deontay do this now over the last 3.5 years, and he's finally back to full health. I think this is a fine trade. I assume, Austin, if you put this in the Walter Picks trade analyzer, which is totally free and a really good way to support me if you haven't checked out the app yet, which I think you have, it'll be pretty even on both sides. But yeah, I think I would take Deontay over Ridley, and I think I would take Mixon over Pacheco rest of season right now. Please, Sam. Henry or Mostert? This is a tough one here. I really don't want to be benching Mostert against the Chiefs. Mostert leads the NFL in touchdowns, and this is a game with the highest over-under of the week. This is not a bad spot, though, for Derrick Henry. And yeah, Walter's agreeing with the direction I was going to go here. Mostert has a higher ceiling, given the touchdown upside that he has. But Derrick Henry's safer, man. Derrick Henry is coming off a 22-carry game. He gets a Steelers defense that has not been that great against running backs. They've been much worse than the Chiefs have been against running backs. The Chiefs defense, low-key, has been really good this season. Pickens or Aaron Jones? Yeah, I think I would go Pickens over Aaron Jones. I'm going Schultz over Chig as well, seeing that one on the TikTok Live. But yeah, I'm going Derrick Henry over Raheem Mostert tonight. I think that is a reasonable take. Mostert's definitely a scary guy to bench in a game that has the highest projected over-under of the week, and you're starting Derrick Henry in a game that has the lowest projected over-under of the week. But yeah, I expect Derrick Henry to get more touches still overall than Raheem Mostert. So that's the way I would go. Carr or Levis? Yeah, you got to go Derek Carr. You got to go Derek Carr. I need a running back. Who should I trade away, and who should I trade for? JJ, Thielen, Evans, Higgins, Hollywood, and Rice. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be trading away Hollywood right now. If you are not in the fantasy playoffs right now, then you got to trade away Justin Jefferson. If you are in the fantasy playoffs or likely to make it, then you got to keep Justin Jefferson. I think Mike Evans right now is a pretty interesting guy to trade away. I also think Adam Thielen is an interesting guy to trade away. I just feel like you are almost definitely selling Thielen at his ceiling right now. And in terms of running backs, I think Tony Pollard is a really good guy to go and trade for right now. He's got 2 great matchups in the playoffs. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 1, but he has the second most red zone touches in the NFL. I actually think I'll make a video soon about trading for Tony Pollard. Naji or Moss? You got to go Zach Moss over Naji. Moss gets a great spot against the Panthers, and it's pretty clear Zach Moss is going to continue to have a role despite Jonathan Taylor being back at full health. Pittman or DJ Moore, please. Not a Thursday night question here from Alvin, but yeah, I think I would probably lean Pittman over DJ Moore with how the Bears looked against the Chargers on Monday night. Sam, I need help, or Sunday night. Sam, I need help at RB2. Gus Edwards, Zach Moss, or Chuba Hubbard. I think this one's Zach Moss too. Gus Edwards is definitely a good spot, and he's been balling as the top running back for the Ravens. He's at RB23 in the Walter Picks app rankings. He's got back-to-back games over 20 points. But yeah, Zach Moss has the matchup this week. I really do like Zach Moss against the Carolina Panthers. Trade Kelsey and Eckler. Oh God, for Kupp, Andrews, and Pollard. No, definitely keep Kelsey and Eckler. Definitely keep Kelsey and Eckler there. Derrick Henry or Godwin at flex in a full PPR league. This is from a TikTok Live subscriber. I will, by the way, turn on TikTok Live subscriber only mode on the comment section in just a few minutes coming up here on the TikTok Live. Make sure I get to all those comments. But yeah, I think I would probably go Derrick Henry over Chris Godwin, even in a PPR league. I certainly would have told you Chris Godwin last week. I think that the matchup is a little bit worse for him this week. And this is a good match for Derrick Henry. The Steelers ranked 25th against running backs this season. That's bottom 10 in the NFL. They are getting their star defensive tackle back tonight, and the Titans do have some offensive line injuries. Derrick Henry, though, coming off a 22-carry game. This game's projected to be close in the scoring category. It's a low projected scoring game. But as long as the game stays close, Derrick Henry's going to get to 20 touches in a game. And so it gives him a pretty good floor. And yeah, the Texans secondary is who Godwin gets. They've actually been really, really good. Second best against receivers this season. So yeah, I think I would go Derrick Henry over Chris Godwin. I think I'd go Derrick Henry over Mike Evans as well. Traded Jacobs and Pickens for Pollard. Is that a W? Probably a W. I don't necessarily feel like you need to trade Josh Jacobs away. I do expect that team to play better just in general without Josh McDaniels in town, but I would prefer Pollard rest of the season over Josh Jacobs. Olave or Pickens? Yeah, I'm going Olave over Pickens pretty easily. I think that one's not even close. What's a fringe start? A fringe start is like don't start these guys unless you really need to. But like you could do worse than the fringe starts. They're not must benches, but they're definitely not must starts either. That's what a fringe start is. It's like if you are in a desperate situation, you can start Chigo Konkwu, Will Levis, Tyjae Spears in the Titans defense if you're just in a desperate spot. But otherwise, don't start them. They're really don't starts unless you need to. That would be a better name, I think, for the fringe starts. All right, Thursday Night Football. Should I start Deontay over Amari Cooper and Tyler Lockett in a full PPR league? Yeah, this one's close between which one you should bench, but you definitely need to start Deontay Johnson. Let's do this comparison here on the YouTube Live. We're live on YouTube and TikTok, by the way, and on the YouTube Live, I can share my screen. It's just as free as the TikTok Live. You're like 2 presses of your finger away. If you're watching live on the TikTok Live to the YouTube Live, it is a better live stream viewing experience. All right, Lockett, Amari Cooper. Yeah, we just don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to play this week, and that definitely does matter a lot here. You got to expect the Browns to run a lot against this Cardinals run defense too. He is the best matchup on paper, Amari Cooper, but I'm really not sure that will come to fruition. So yeah, I bench Amari Cooper here, but you're definitely starting Deontay Johnson. 100% you're starting Deontay over Amari Cooper and Tyler Lockett. He's coming off 14 targets, guys. 14 targets is not something most players have a chance to get. Should I trade Etienne, Breece Hall, and T. Higgins for Bijan and Amon-Ra? I have Eckler and Gibbs. No, I don't like it. I don't think you should trade it. Wow, your team is absolutely stacked. You have Etienne, Breece Hall, and Eckler and Gibbs. I think you should probably trade Gibbs in this spot. I think Gibbs, I was telling people to buy him 2 weeks ago. That certainly worked out. Now we're definitely entering the territory where it might make sense to sell Jahmyr Gibbs, depending on what you can get for him. If you're getting value based on his production the last couple of games, like David Montgomery's coming back, guys, and David Montgomery's going to be the goal line back for the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs certainly has earned more work, and I still really think his receiving upside is exciting in PPR, but he's not going to be as good as he's been once David Montgomery returns, and that's going to be likely next week. Josh Downs or Zay Flowers this week? Yeah, I think I'd probably lean Zay Flowers. Do you think Kincaid or Goddard? I'm going Kincaid again over Goddard like I did last week. That certainly worked out pretty well. I'm going Spears over Madison. What's good, bro? Deontay or DJ Moore? Yeah, going Deontay over DJ Moore. What's good with you as well? Thanks for tuning in to all of you guys. We are pumped for Thursday Night Football in a game that's projected to be the lowest scoring game of the week. I'm here to help you guys. And I think the guy I'm telling most people to start the most tonight, it is Deontay Johnson. And guys, look at the game logs. Go to the Walter Picks app. It's free. And look at the advanced game logs for Deontay Johnson. And I don't know how you don't get excited to start him in fantasy. He's one of the few guys that really does have such an elite floor in PPR leagues. We saw it over past seasons, and we finally saw it last week, 35% target share for Deontay Johnson, almost 200 air yards. He had 8 targets, 85 yards. 8 catches, 85 yards. He had 14 targets for Deontay last week. Definitely think he's a start over most players. Who should I sell Gibbs for? Yeah, so receivers that I like going after in general, I think Amon-Ra is a good guy to target like you were in that previous trade. But yeah, go see if you can get a top 10 wide receiver by packaging Gibbs. And maybe one of those other running backs that you have. You do have a lot of elite running backs there. Pickens or Godwin? That one's really close. Godwin definitely is a tough start against the Texans. Langley, dude, grow up and watch the NHL. I do watch the NHL, but I'm mostly a playoff NHL fan, I would say. I think Pickens over Godwin. I would say maybe. Thursday night, sorry about that on the YouTube Live. Thursday Night Football pick 2, DJ Moore, Terry, and Pickens PPR. I think I would go Terry and Pickens here. Someone dropped Cowboys defense. How much fab in a 100 fab league is worth putting on them? Thoughts on Henderson? Why would someone drop the Cowboys defense after last week? I guess they're playing the Eagles, so they're not going to start them this week. I wouldn't drop very much fab in general on a defense, though. Max 10% of your fab I would put on a defense just in general. Thoughts on Henderson PPR? I have no ETN and need a replacement. Yeah, he's definitely a decent option. He had, I think, over 40 receiving yards last week, another 12 carries. Darrell Henderson has 30 carries in his last 2 games. I would play Deontay over Mixon. That one's pretty close. Hopkins or Cup? Yeah, you got to go Cup over Hopkins, even with the questionable Matt Stafford situation. D-Hop or Garrett Wilson, 100% you're going Garrett Wilson. That one's not even close. Garrett Wilson's a top 10 receiver this week. Hopkins is not a top 10 receiver this week, even coming off his massive game. Yo, Sam, Thursday Night Football question. Levis or Stroud? Yeah, you got to go Stroud. You got to go Stroud over Will Levis. I'm playing Deontay Johnson over Chris Godwin. I'm playing Deontay Johnson over Rashad White. Again, Deontay Johnson's coming off a 14-target game. That gives him a really good floor. Thursday Night Football is hamster. DeAndre Hopkins or James Cook at the flex in a PPR league. This is a tough call here. I want to see what Walter says. I think I'd lean Hopkins over Cook personally in a PPR league. And yeah, Walter agrees that it was a tough call. And yeah, the ceiling for Hopkins is definitely higher than the ceiling for James Cook right now. And yeah, the matchup's better for Hopkins too. It's Hopkins over James Cook. Guys, the free player props tonight, I see people asking about it. We are 14-4 on the free player props. And also, guys, if you've never played on Sleeper before, you got to go play on Sleeper. It helps me out. And they're giving out insane promos for people that have not deposited on Sleeper before. Look at this. They have Josh Allen at half a passing yard on Sleeper if you've never deposited on Sleeper before. If you use code Walter when you sign up, you can get Josh Allen's passing yard line at half a yard this week. Go take that free line. Use code Walter. You'll also get a 100% deposit match on your first deposit on Sleeper. I know most of you use Sleeper already for fantasy. Play the Pick'em game. Make your first deposit. Use code Walter. Help me out. I'll help you out by getting you this half a passing yard on Sleeper as well. And the free player prop tonight, by the way, that I like, that's not free, like the half a passing yard is on Sleeper right now for new depositors, is Allen Robinson under 14.5 receiving yards. I really think there's a better chance Allen Robinson goes for 0 yards tonight than it is that he goes over 15 yards. He has seven total yards in his last 2 games. He has 2 total targets, Allen Robinson, in his last 2 games. He's still out there a lot. He still played over 65% of the snaps last week, but he's running straight wind sprints, guys. Allen Robinson is right now for the Steelers with Deontay Johnson back. I do like the Allen Robinson under. Keep or trade Mostert. I'd probably trade if you can. Devon Achane is going to come back, but make sure you're getting enough for him. He's certainly worth a decent amount. He leads the league in touchdowns, which means he's up there in fantasy points. Hey, Sam, who's the safest play at flex this week? Flowers, Collins, or Lockett? I really like Nico Collins this week. I've been playing him a lot in the Sleeper Daily Draft game, which is my favorite daily fantasy draft. My favorite daily fantasy game. Like if you guys are into DraftKings and FanDuel, if you're into head-to-head contests especially, you got to try the Sleeper Daily Draft game. It's so much fun. And yeah, I'm playing Nico Collins in the last round of that game consistently this week. I do really like him a lot against the Bucs. I think I'd go Nico. I think Flowers might be the safest option. If you're asking about the safest play, it might be Flowers. Flowers has had at least a 20% target share in every game but one this season. And he gets a decent matchup against the Seahawks too, so it's not like he doesn't have a ceiling. But I think the ceiling for Nico is just extremely high this week, and I would start him among all those guys. D-Hop or Pickens? Yeah, I'm going D-Hop over Pickens. Definitely a close one, but with Deontay back, I do think the floor is much lower now for George Pickens. Sam, I need help. Big game for me. Will Levis or Daniel Jones? Please, Sam. Cameron. Big game for everybody this week, man. We got to get the dubs at this point of the fantasy season. This is like the make or break time, where you're going to find out, is your team in the hunt for the playoffs or is it not? And for me, it's definitely scary to start Daniel Jones coming off a bunch of missed weeks here. He gets the Raiders, though, not the scariest matchup for him. I think I would go Daniel Jones over Will Levis. I would. I think I would. And both these games are projected to be really low scoring, but I don't feel like Will Levis should be started in single QB leagues still, even coming off one of the best rookie debuts we've seen. I've got no running back 2. Sold my team, so need scraps to win. PPR, Warren, Roshan Johnson, Foreman, or Keontae Ingram. Thanks for the help as always. Sam, thank you for tuning in as always. Hazim. And yeah, I think Warren, Roshan Johnson, Foreman, Keontae Ingram. You cannot start Keontae Ingram. Absolutely not. He's dead last year. For sure. I don't love Deontay Foreman either. I think I'd probably at this point play Roshan over him, but yeah, I think the answer here is Jaylen Warren tonight against the Titans. Hey Sam, I need a decent wide receiver too. My wide receiver 1 is Monroe. Who should I trade away? DK, T, Higgins, Rashee Rice, Josh Downs, and who can I get? I don't know if you should be trading away DK and T Higgins right now. I think T. Higgins is a really good start this week, and I think T. Higgins, like, now he's getting back to full health. Joe Burrow's starting to cook. Like, he's going to have top 10 wide receiver upside every week. And DK Metcalf, not that different. I don't know if you should be moving either of those guys. You're 1-7. Who should I trade for? I'm willing to trade Jefferson and Mostert. You need a wide receiver 1. Yeah, I would go after one of the top 10 wide receivers. If I pull up here just really quickly on the YouTube live, just the rest of the season rankings in the Walter Picks app, definitely a good place to go when you are trying to think of who you should trade for. Go to the rest of the season rankings, toggle to the position you're looking for, trade for one of these top 10 receivers: Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, Steph Diggs, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, Keenan Allen. These are guys that I would send trade offers for with Mostert and Jefferson and see what you can get. I don't hate trading for Ayuk. I think the 49ers have a pretty good playoff schedule in weeks 15 and 17 as well. Devontae Smith, Garrett Wilson. These are good guys, I think, to target in trades just in general. But yeah, if you're trading Jefferson, definitely think you need to be getting a lot in return. Don't quote me or anything, but I think this is the week Najee picks it up. Sixers season. You might be onto something in terms of fantasy, because he did have his best receiving game, I believe, of the season last week. Naji Harris. His route percentage, didn't spike or anything, but yeah, he had his most targets of the season, 5 targets. And he caught all 5 of those for 42 yards. And that is a good sign for Najee. Pickett or Stafford? Yeah, you can't trust Stafford. You absolutely cannot trust Stafford. I don't want to play Pickett tonight for sure, but Stafford legitimately might not play. Pickens over Addison. I think I'd probably still go Addison over Pickens, even though he's got a tough situation with no Kirk Cousins. Sam, trading Taylor, Wilson, and Stroud for Herbert and Achane. Thoughts? Yeah, if you are already in the fantasy football playoffs, I don't hate it. I don't love it either. Like Garrett Wilson, which I assume this is the Wilson you're talking about, Jonathan Taylor. These are 2 guys I don't feel like I really want to trade away just in general. But Achane, if you're already in the fantasy playoffs, Achane is absolutely a guy I'm targeting extremely aggressively. If I am in the top 3, top 4 of my league, or I'm very confident I'm going to be in the fantasy playoffs, Achane's just a couple weeks from returning. He's going to win leagues, guys, when he comes back. We already saw it. And we're kind of seeing it with the Dolphins without him. I was watching the Dolphins game with a few Dolphins fans this week, and they were saying, man, we need Achane back. And you can kind of feel that for the Miami Dolphins. And down the stretch, he absolutely can win the league. So I don't hate it. I don't love giving away Garrett Wilson and Jonathan Taylor, though. Deontay Johnson or Michael Pittman this week? Yeah, I'm going Deontay over Michael Pittman. Olave, Pickens, or Puka? Yeah, I'm going Olave. And I think I'm playing Puka over Pickens, too, even though he's dealing with some injuries in practice. Yeah, I definitely would play Joe Burrow over Justin Herbert. Thoughts on Spears for tonight? Yeah, I think he's a fringe start. I don't think he's a must start. I don't think he's a must bench either. I think you could do much worse than Spears. I think Spears is one of the best backup running backs in the league. I'm really excited to see what he does, in his career whenever Derrick Henry goes away for the Tennessee Titans and retires, because Tyjae Spears has been really, really efficient this season. He's got 4 games over 6 yards per carry this season. He's only had under 3.5 yards per carry in a single game this year. And he's been a really good receiver too. He's had at least 4 catches in all but 2 games this season, which is why in PPR leagues, he has some standalone value. So yeah, I'm excited about Tyjae Spears just in general. I don't think we'll see him get huge usage tonight though, with Derrick Henry in the mix. I need help. Not a Thursday night football question, but Mondre or Darrell Henderson. Yeah, I'm going Mondre over D Hendo this week. I do think Mondre gets leaned on more in the pass game with all the injuries to the Pats receivers. Zay or Pickens? Yeah, Zay Flowers over Pickens. And I'm playing Pickens over Drake London, though. I don't know if London's going to play. Johnson or Keenan Allen? Yeah, it's a tough matchup for Keenan. It's not that difficult of a matchup tonight for Deontay, but I think you got to start Keenan Allen every single week. As much as I like Deontay coming off the 14-target game, I would play Pickens over Aaron Jones. Hopkins, I would not play him over Cooper Kupp. Herbert versus the Jets or Dak. Yeah, I'm not benching Dak just in general. Why is Steelers defense a must start? Because this game has the lowest over-under of the entire week. Only 37 points projected to be scored in this game. And part of the reason is the Titans games are averaging in total on both sides of the ball. The least combined plays per game in the NFL this season are the Tennessee Titans. Their games are extremely slow, extremely low scoring because they have a good defensive line. They're not horrible defensively. And they also are a run-first offense that moves really slow and doesn't have very many big plays, other than last week where they had 2 bombs to DeAndre Hopkins. That's definitely not what we've seen a lot of from the Tennessee Titans this season. And then on top of that, the Steelers offense can't score at all. They punted on the highest percentage of possessions in the entire league. Almost half of possessions for the Steelers have ended in a punt. The Steelers defense, though, they were getting back their star defensive tackle. There's an injury on, I think it's the right side of the offensive line for the Titans tonight as well. So yeah, the Steelers defense definitely at home in a low-scoring game against a rookie QB. There's a lot of reasons to like the Steelers defense tonight. I definitely think they are a solid option in fantasy. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits. We are like a couple minutes away, guys. Actually, we're going to do this right now. We're going to transition the YouTube live. Going to wrap up the YouTube live right now. I'm going to go rapid fire in the comment section in the TikTok live over the next like 10, 20 minutes. And we're going to wrap up the live in the TikTok live. So if you're watching live on YouTube, guys, if I didn't get to your question, like I would play the Steelers defense over the Cowboys defense. Yep, Cowboys not startable, really, against the Eagles this week. I do appreciate you guys tuning in on the YouTube live. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'll be live, of course, on Sunday morning, and we're posting weekly content on YouTube. If you didn't get to your start sit, you know where to go. It's the Walter Picks app, or come to the TikTok live at Walter Picks on TikTok, and I'll get to your comment there, guys. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thank you for spending some time with me tonight. Good luck, everybody. We'll be live for the next 15 minutes on the TikTok live.